going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We got some pro wrestling news today. We're going to talk about some big stories about some big stars from a bunch of different federations. So we're going to get into that. Who's going where, who has left, who may be leaving. We'll explain it in a little bit by the end of the video. But before we get into any of that, I want to let you guys know that if you are enjoying these videos, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell if you haven't already. It does help out the channel very much, helps other people know about the channel, and puts it in the recommendations list. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. So on to the big stories that are coming up this week about people coming and going from other places. The big one, as many of us found out on Wednesday, Jon Moxley, who was slated to be on Wednesday night's edition of AEW Dynamite, taking on Orange Cassidy in the semifinals of the World Championship Contenders Tournament. It's such a long title, just give it a cool name. But Moxley, as expected, if you saw that wonderful picture of Tony Khan, who apparently had scribbled the entire card for Full Gear and didn't know he was holding it towards the camera, and somebody took a picture of it, and it's pretty much come true for what was booked on that piece of paper, except for this part, because Moxley, unfortunately, seems to be having some personal issues with alcohol. He did allow Tony Khan, the president of AEW, to let the fans know that he was going into rehab for alcohol addiction. So we do, of course, wish Jon all the best and a speedy recovery, and that he can get through this well, because, you know, your fans are going to be here waiting for you. We love you, and, you know, get better, man. But as far as AEW was concerned, they had to switch things around on that night. So this went up with Miro, who noticeably had a taped left thigh, coming back before plans apparently were for his return after losing the TNT Championship to Sammy Guevara a couple weeks ago. But now he was inserted here as the highest ranked available person on the roster to take Moxley's place in this match against Orange Cassidy, which, by the way, was a pretty damn good match. I really did enjoy that match as a main event. Didn't think I would, but Orange showed a lot. You know, the guy knows how to wrestle, and so does Miro, and they know how to pull off the spots. Miro wins the match, taking Moxley's spot in the main event or the finals of the tournament. This will lead to being one of the featured matches at AEW's Full Gear show next weekend, the big pay-per-view, where Daniel Bryan, who just happened to be sitting on commentary, came down to the ring and had a confrontation with Miro face-to-face before they went off the air. Now, from a fan's perspective, you know, I'm now curious as to what the plan would have been. Would Moxley have gone over on Bryan Danielson, or would Danielson have gone over on Moxley? Because we'll never know now what the plans originally were for who was going to win that match, unless, of course, you look at the paper that Tony Khan held. But the thoughts of you know, Jon Moxley going up against Hangman Page for the championship, if Hangman wins the world title, there may be some stories there. There may be some residual stories between, you know, Eddie Kingston having that rough match with Danielson and then getting in CM Punk's face to maybe see Kingston and Moxley against Punk and Bryan, you know, as that would be an interesting pairing for a tag team match. But, you know, we're not going to know. But again, the main thing is that Moxley gets better. But this does change things up for AEW's card coming up next weekend, and possibly the future, but we'll have to see. Only time will tell. Over in WWE NXT land, there is another member of the Undisputed Era that might be on their way out the door. Now, when Bobby Fish and Adam Cole all left relatively about the same time, there was a lot of speculation about what was going to happen to the rest of Undisputed Era, even though they had disbanded the group on TV, kayfabe, and Fish hadn't been on TV for a very long time due to injury. There was a wonder, well, what are they going to do with Kyle O'Reilly? They gave him the nice rub on the way out the door. Adam Cole made sure he paid his respects going on at the door, because that's what a classy wrestler Adam Cole is. And what have they really done with Kyle O'Reilly? Something about being off in the woods? Or I don't know. I haven't seen it. But I haven't heard much about what's going on with Kyle O'Reilly. So he may be on his way out the door of WWE, and a lot of people, of course, suspect that we could wind up with him being over in AEW, which would set it up, obviously, for the Adam Cole eventual defection from the Super Elite, and then you could have, and I fully think this is probably going to happen. I definitely think it's a possibility that you could get the Elite versus the Undisputed Era. The only thing I ask for is, since you can't use Undisputed Era in AEW, just call them Dishonored. I would love it. I mean, it doesn't work as well now as it would have been when all of them left Ring of Honor and went to NXT, which was the way the Dishonored gimmick came up. But whatever the name they come up with for them, they'll be the Undisputed Era in our eyes and our minds, taking on the Elite. So that might be something very cool that could happen in the future. Of course, no one's going to know until Kyle O'Reilly lets his future known to the public, or WWE does. And then the final little piece of news about people coming and going or possibly leaving, Juice Robinson. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Gaijin, a stalwart, a guy who's been charismatic. The Japanese fans love him to death. Well, of course, it's that time of the year. We're coming up to Wrestle Kingdom in every January, really since the Omega Okada match. Now, or actually, before that, it was actually since AJ and Shinsuke and Gallows and Anderson left after that one Wrestle Kingdom several years ago. But ever since then, it's been like every January 4th, okay, whose contract's up in New Japan? Last year it was Jay White. This year coming up, apparently it's going to be Juice Robinson. His contract, he did sign a multi-year deal back in 2019. I think about the same time Rocky Romero's re-signed with New Japan. But since then, Juice, he was supposed to, it seemed like he was going some places in New Japan and they were going to push him. And then they weren't, and then they were, then they weren't. Now, him and Finley, Finley got a rub, and then they've gone over here to the States to be on Impact, which has worked out very well for them. But I do wonder, back in New Japan, do they have plans for him? It seems like Juice Robinson should have been elevated about a year or two ago, and we've all been kind of waiting for him to have that breakout G1 or that, breakout title win or that breakout big match win, but it just didn't come. And other scuttlebutts, if you listen to a lot of the interviews and some of the backstage stuff that he said and some other people said, I don't think he's getting paid very much in New Japan. Tony Khan hinted that he might have been, without saying Juice's name, he said there's some guys in New Japan that said, hey, you should have come over to AEW, and they didn't. And now he's telling them, hey, I told you so. So Juice Robinson's name is definitely going to be on that list. A lot of people will want him if he leaves New Japan over here in the States. Plus his fiance works in WWE, so WWE has expressed interest in him. He did turn them down 3 years ago. Of course, obviously AEW have interest in him. Impact, MLW, all the major North American wrestling companies will want Juice Robinson because he has had some mega performances in New Japan Pro Wrestling that have been seen by companies over here. In fact, WWE noted that the San Francisco match against Jay White, where he won the U.S. title with a roll-up, the same night, however, Josh Barnett almost killed Jay White, but that night caught the eyes of people in WWE, apparently, as the rumor goes. So, I don't know about Juice leaving. It depends on how loyal he is, because 3 years ago he said he'd never go back to WWE. He said that, I think it was after one of the G1 US shows, he said that. And, I don't know, him going to AEW really doesn't prohibit him going to New Japan because they have an open agreement. So, it'd be kind of like if I was New Japan and Juice Robinson, it might be beneficial if Juice still has some loyalty to New Japan. If he went to AEW, he can still always go back. Again, the Japanese fans absolutely love Juice Robinson. So, whatever he does, the guy's, he's going to be getting married, he's getting older. It might be time to, if New Japan's not going to give you a lot of money, might be time to look for options elsewhere. I would prefer not to see him back in WWE. Even now, I don't think they know what to do with him. But, and he doesn't have the physique, the guys that they're looking for kind of thing. And there's probably some hurt feelings or whatever. Whoever, you never know with WWE because sometimes they're petty, sometimes they're not. Who knows? But AEW and Impact, I think, will probably be the best places. He's already been wrestling in Impact anyway. It wouldn't be much of a transition for him just to go there full time. But again, we're going to have to wait till the end of January to find out. Maybe we will find out sooner if Juice makes a decision and if he can even announce it before then. But I want to know what you guys think about this. What do you think about the possibility of Juice Robinson leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling, and which wrestling organization would you like to see him in? Is Kyle O'Reilly going to get out of NXT and wind up reforming the Undisputed Era in AEW at some point over the next 12 months to battle the Elite? And what are your thoughts on Jon Moxley's situation? Please, of course, be respectful. We respect Jon Moxley as a performer. Don't know him as a person, but as a performer, and he's a human being. Somebody going through that kind of thing with addiction, it's really tough, especially alcohol. And, he's got a baby, girl now. So I'm just wishing him all the best, man. And that's all I can really think. Again, you guys let me know what you think about it in the comment box below. Until next time, don't forget, also down in the description box, I've got some free goodies for you, so check that out. Some new stuff down there as well. And I'll see you guys here next time for more news, rumors, and commentary on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.